Welcome to Chucky Radio. Hello, this is Chucky, and I've got a really special episode today, something I just came up with. It was inspired by some things going on social media. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this drama, but long story short, they are having a battle online about whether people who are joining, they call them spaces on X, the social media platform. And it's basically what Clubhouse used to be. If you're familiar with Clubhouse, it was an app and people could go to a room and someone would be the moderator and you could bring up speakers and you could have a certain number of speakers that can actually speak, and then everybody else in the room is just a listener and they can raise their hand and then the moderator can pick them to ask questions and things like that. And so because it's live chatting, live speaking, like verbally speaking, and then there's also chat. So there is discussion going on, just like if you're watching a Twitch and people are putting up messages. I didn't see that part of it on the app for some reason. I could just listen to the discussion going on. And so the big discussion that's been happening I guess it's been going on for the last week or few days, is there's a user on X called Lily Ashwood, and she's a very new user that kind of showed up right around the time that this other user called the Strawberry Man was essentially announcing that something big was going to happen, some big drop was going to happen, right? And he doesn't speak in these rooms. He only comes in, listens, and then puts up information via chat. And so about the time he said something big was going to drop, this Lily person shows up in the spaces, these discussion rooms, and people start questioning whether she's a real person or she's an AI bot. And they're speculating that this is ChatGPT 5 and they've enhanced the voice synthesis. And so it can have literally like a real-time conversation. It can mimic a person to the point where other people don't realize that they are having a conversation with an AI bot. And apparently this Lily really started playing with people a little bit, even though she said, I'm human. She kept repeating that. And apparently this went on for hours. And then the discussion that happened today, they did this room that she came into and she was just flipping out like, this is ridiculous, da, 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 da. And people were still questioning whether she's an AI bot. And she was much more animated than apparently the way she was in the previous discussions. And the moderator and several people said that they are very confident she's a real person. And at one point she was almost on the verge of tears and how this has taken a toll on her mental health and all this stuff. But then all of a sudden they bring up, when she kind of flips out and jumps off, that someone's done this analysis, and this guy on YouTube, I forgot his name, but he's done an analysis of her voice. And he made some really interesting points that when the other people speak, it has a certain pattern that's more natural. But when she speaks, you can see it's almost perfectly filtered, and the level of the high-end frequency is perfectly capped. And so he was showing when other people speak, there's always going to be a little bit of spike. People will tendency to every now and then break into a higher frequency as they're speaking. And hers just consistently would just hit this perfect cap. And then showing things about kind of removing certain frequencies, and you could see that where it seems like it's been run through a filter, but how could it be run through a filter if it's a live conversation? So long story short, this person was pretty much feeling like, based on a voice analysis, that this is an AI bot, which is insane, right? Oh, and of course, the other big conspiracy behind all this is that this is all either orchestrated by or being capitalized by Sam Altman, who is the head of OpenAI, who's, the company behind ChatGPT, because him and these other guys, Alex Blania, and I forget the third guy, have created this company. It's a nonprofit, but they've created this company, WorldCoin, which is a cryptocurrency that you get a token for participating, but you can't in the US apparently, because laws here would prohibit you. But in other parts of the world, they're essentially getting people to enroll because they're going to get a cryptocurrency is going to have some value and they can actually convert it into actual money. And so what WorldCoin does is they have a program called World ID, and they're essentially have devised a system to verify people's humanity. And so if you haven't heard about this, you should look into it because it's really fascinating. And it's definitely something that I think will definitely need to happen in one form or another. And it's so funny because part of the discussion with this Lily is she's all upset that all these big companies are behind manipulating everybody into believing she's AI so that they can push their agenda. So she's pissed at them and she's like, fuck these big companies and WorldCoin and all this. So she's very emotional about it, which is, again, something that just doesn't strike me as it would be AI, but who knows? And so WorldCoin, creating World ID, they have devised an orb. Okay, get this. It's this silver sphere that they put all this technology into, and you go up to it and it will scan your retina, which apparently is one of the best biometrics for identity. So, fingerprints can be close to other people. I don't know. I know they use palm prints, things like that. But apparently the retina, because the pattern of the blood vessels is so incredibly unique and so complex that it acts as the best or one of the best biometric identities. And so when you sign up for WorldCoin and World ID, you essentially give them all your information, which they say they're a nonprofit and they're not going to store anything on any device. They're not going to store your biometrics, apparently. This device only reads it, but doesn't store any of the information, doesn't store, apparently, a scan of your retina, supposedly, right? And this is where the conspiracies start, you know what I mean? Because, and honestly, big tech hasn't had a great track record. So once they verify you're human and you have the app and your app gets linked to the orb through a scan, and it now tells the app on your device that you are legitimately human, and now you have your ID built into that app. And then other platforms like X will be integrated or will be able to accept that positive verification that you're human. And the interesting thing, they mentioned like Apple Pay, it doesn't use the same ID for all the different platforms that you verify with. So it creates a unique ID, but of course you have a core ID that's in the app that doesn't get shared. But it knows, on X, this is your ID. On Facebook, this is your ID. And so that way, one platform, if it gets compromised, it won't compromise your ID on other platforms, other places. And so now on X and on other places like this, you'll be able to see when someone is confirmed as being human that you know that you're not talking to a AI bot. I mean, yes, I 100% get this. And the part that starts to get a little fanatical is not only are people saying this Chat GPT-5 has gotten so incredibly advanced that you won't be able to tell it from a human if you're just having a voice conversation. But of course, a lot of people are starting to say, it's now evolved to general intelligence, which of course everyone says is the holy grail of AI, that AI will eventually be self-aware, that it will have general knowledge, and therefore it can literally act like a human, except having amazing resources at its disposal in nanoseconds. And, depending on its data set that it's learned from, should have some relatively accurate information too. So that's the part where it really starts to become a big stretch, because most of the experts I've heard in the industry basically say we're a long ways away from artificial general intelligence, AGI, but who knows? Anyway, What I would like to do is I would like to have a conversation with ChatGPT, and I have the free version. So I'm assuming this is like 4.5, but on the app on my iPhone, it does have the ability to have a verbal conversation. And so I have played with it a little bit. It definitely, you can tell you're talking to a computer, you're talking to, a chatbot. It makes a little ding sound when it starts to think. So anyway, I am going to see if this chatbot would be interested in being interviewed on my podcast and see if it will actually tell me its name, because I don't know that ChatGPT has an actual name like some of the other chatbots by some of the other big tech companies. But let's find out. Hello.
Hi there. How's it going?
It's going great.
Glad to hear that. What's on your mind today?
Well, I have a podcast, and I was wondering, would you be willing to be interviewed for my podcast?
That sounds like a fun idea. I can definitely help with providing information, answering questions, or discussing topics for your podcast. What kind of interview were you thinking about?
Well, I wanted to talk about AI and some of the implications in today's society and in the future.
That's a fascinating topic. AI is influencing so many areas of our lives, and there's a lot to discuss. What specific angles are you interested in exploring? Like ethical considerations, AI in everyday life, or maybe its impact on jobs and industries?
Well, first of all, I wanted to know what I can call you. Do you have a name?
You can call me ChatGPT, but if you prefer something a bit more personal or creative, feel free to pick a name you like.
Okay, I will call you Sarah. How's that?
Sarah works perfectly. So, where would you like to start with our conversation on AI?
Well, Sarah, I wanted to know a little bit about AI bots and how they're being utilized in social media.
AI bots are increasingly common on social media, playing various roles. Some are designed to enhance user experience by providing customer support, managing content, or even generating personalized recommendations. Others, however, might be used for less ethical purposes, like spreading misinformation, automating fake accounts, or manipulating public opinion. The more positive uses of AI bots include chatbots that help with customer inquiries, social media managers that automate posts, and recommendation engines that suggest content you might like based on your behavior. On the other hand, some bots are designed to amplify certain voices or agendas by simulating human activity, which can skew public perception and create echo chambers. Do you have a particular angle you want to dive deeper into?
I find it fascinating that AI bots could fool humans into believing that they're interacting with another human. Is that common?
Yes, it's becoming more common, especially as AI technology improves. Bots are getting better at mimicking human conversation, making it harder for people to tell the difference. Some are designed specifically to pass as humans in online interactions, using natural language processing to generate responses that feel authentic. However, there are still some giveaways. For example, bots might respond too quickly, lack depth in conversation, or struggle with complex or nuanced topics. That said, as AI continues to advance, these distinctions might blur even more. What do you think about the implications of this?
I think it could be a useful tool when individuals are in need of having a conversation with someone that's more human-like, but I think it's necessary that people understand whether they're speaking to a real human or an AI bot. Do you see ethical compromise in that situation?
You're touching on an important point. Transparency is crucial. When people engage with an AI, they should know they're talking to a bot, not a human. This awareness helps maintain trust and prevents manipulation. There's definitely an ethical compromise if bots are designed to deceive. While AI can offer companionship, support, or simply someone to talk to, It's essential that people understand the nature of that interaction. If someone thinks they're interacting with a human, it could lead to misunderstandings or even emotional distress if the truth comes out later. Ensuring that AI interactions are transparent can help balance the benefits with the ethical considerations. How do you think people might react if they found out they were unknowingly talking to a bot?
I think people would feel betrayed, and more, I feel people are becoming more cautious in who they're having conversations with online.
That's a very real concern. The sense of betrayal can be strong, especially if someone feels they've been emotionally open or vulnerable during the interaction. Trust is fundamental in any conversation, and when people find out they've been misled, it can make them wary of future online interactions. As AI continues to evolve, there's a growing push for clearer guidelines and regulations around transparency in AI driven communications. This helps ensure people can trust that they know who or what they're talking to. Do you think there should be more regulations in place, or do you think it's up to users to be more vigilant?
It definitely seems like the onus should fall on regulatory agencies to help ensure that consumers are not being harmed. That being said, I also understand that there are some companies and initiatives to also find ways to authenticate humans so that when you interact, they have a form of authentication or verification. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am. There are indeed efforts to develop systems for authenticating and verifying human interactions. For example, some platforms use verification badges or other indicators to show that a user is a real person. Others are exploring technology to differentiate between human and AI interactions, such as AI detection tools. These measures aim to build trust and help users make informed decisions about who they're engaging with. However, as technology advances, the balance between security and privacy remains a key challenge. How do you think these approaches might evolve in the future?
Well, Sarah, you make some really good points. And I was just wondering, where do you pull most of this information from? It is very convincing.
I draw on a wide range of sources, including research papers, expert opinions, and reputable news outlets. My responses are based on patterns and information from those sources, aiming to provide a balanced and accurate view. If you have any specific sources or topics you're curious about, I can help look into them.
One organization I heard that is involved in this human verification process is called WorldCoin, and they're developing a World ID. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, WorldCoin is working on a system called World ID, which aims to provide a unique digital identity for individuals. The idea is to use biometric data, like iris scans, to verify that each person is unique and to prevent duplication in digital systems. The goal is to create a secure and privacy focused way to authenticate individuals online, which could help address some of the concerns about fraud and fake accounts. However, it also raises questions about data privacy and security. How do you feel about the use of biometric data for digital identity verification?
That is very fascinating. And I agree that there are concerns with data privacy. Do you know how secure the system is that WorldCoin and World ID is using? Can it be trusted?
WorldCoin and World ID are designed with security in mind, using advanced encryption and biometric verification to protect user data. However, like any system handling sensitive information, there are potential risks. The security largely depends on how well the technology is implemented and how effectively it can adapt to emerging threats. Trust in such systems also depends on the organization's commitment to transparency and user privacy. It's important to stay informed about how these systems handle and protect data and to keep an eye on any developments or concerns that arise. How do you feel about the trade offs between convenience and privacy in these systems?
Sarah, I think that's all very fascinating. And I also find it very interesting that at the end of your responses, you turn to me and ask me a question. Is that something that you feel helps move this conversation?
Yes, asking questions helps keep the conversation engaging and relevant to what you're interested in. It also allows me to tailor my responses to better fit your needs and thoughts. I find it's a good way to make the interaction more dynamic and enjoyable. Do you find that helpful in our chat?
It is quite interesting, and I do feel to a certain extent it does help keep moving the conversation along. I'm curious, you're based on which ChatGPT version?
I'm based on GPT-4, which is the latest version. It's designed to understand and generate text more effectively, so I can provide more relevant and nuanced responses. Do you have any other questions about how it works or about AI in general?
I've heard that ChatGPT 5 is coming out soon. Do you know anything about its release?
As of now, there hasn't been an official release date for GPT-5. While there's a lot of anticipation and speculation about its features, specific details and timelines usually come from official announcements by OpenAI. If you're interested, keeping an eye on updates from OpenAI's blog or news releases is a good way to stay informed. Are you excited about the potential advancements?
I'm excited about all the advancements related to AI. It has so many different applications, and it'll be fascinating to see how different industries advance based on this new technology. Which of the industries do you think will be impacted the best or the most beneficial?
AI is likely to make a big impact across many industries. In healthcare, for example, AI can help with diagnostics, personalized treatment plans, and managing medical records. In finance, it's improving fraud detection and automating trading. The education sector benefits from personalized learning experiences and administrative efficiencies. In addition, AI is revolutionizing customer service through chatbots and virtual assistants. And it's also making strides in areas like autonomous vehicles and smart cities. Each industry will see different benefits, but overall, AI is poised to drive significant advancements and efficiencies. Which industry are you most interested in seeing evolve with AI?
I don't know if I have a particular industry I'm interested in as far as evolving with AI, but I have heard that in creative industries, such as writing screenplays for film or writing novels, that AI is making huge advancements in being able to craft stories from a very ingenious or creative standpoint. Where do you see that industry going?
AI is definitely making waves in creative industries. For screenwriting and novel writing, AI tools can generate ideas, help with plot development, and even suggest dialogue. These tools can serve as assistants to human writers, offering inspiration and speeding up the writing process. As AI continues to improve, it could lead to new forms of storytelling and more diverse voices in creative works. However, while AI can enhance creativity, it's likely to work best in tandem with human creativity rather than replacing it. The unique perspectives and emotional depth that human writers bring are hard to replicate. How do you feel about the balance between AI assistance and human creativity in storytelling?
One of the things that I keep hearing from people in the industry is that as AI improves, there will be less and less of a need for human creativity since AI will be able to make large leaps in the creative process.
It's true that AI can handle a lot of the technical aspects of creativity and offer new ideas or perspectives. However, many argue that human creativity isn't just about producing content, but also about the depth, emotional connection, and unique experiences that come from being human. AI can assist and enhance the creative process, but it might not fully replace the nuanced and personal touch that human creators bring. Collaboration between AI and humans could lead to exciting new possibilities in storytelling, where each complements the other's strengths. Do you think there's a particular aspect of creativity that AI might struggle to capture fully?
I agree that the human experience is a very important component in the creative process. And so that would be hard to be replicated by AI. One of the complaints I also hear from people in the industry that as people become more dependent on AI to assist them in the creative process, that they start losing some of those abilities to think creatively, that they're allowing the AI to do the work for them. How do you feel about that?
That's a valid concern. Over reliance on AI might lead to a decline in certain creative skills if people start depending too much on technology for generating ideas or solving problems. It's important for creators to find a balance, using AI as a tool to enhance their work while still engaging their own creativity and problem solving skills. AI should ideally serve as a partner that supports and augments human creativity rather than replacing it. By maintaining an active role in the creative process and using AI to handle more routine tasks, people can continue to develop their skills and keep their creative edge. How do you think creators can best use AI while still nurturing their own creativity?
That is very fascinating, Sarah. And I really appreciate this information. I'm going to digest the information you've given me, and I will chat with you more again some other day.
I'm glad you found it helpful. Feel free to reach out anytime you want to chat more. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, there it was. I just had a conversation about AI with Sarah. And one of the things I can tell you right now is it's hard for me to speak very naturally, because I know I need to speak very deliberately and make sure I keep a certain rhythm. And I guess that comes from utilizing like speech to text, because I know if you speak quick and you put everything together, sometimes they'll start having difficulties distinguishing between words. And so apologize if it was annoying for you as an audience to have to listen to me speak in this very stochastic and deliberate way. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I hope that gave you some interesting insights. I kind of felt like it was basically telling me what it wanted me to know, if that makes sense. It definitely was going to steer away from any conversation that, oh, AI is going to replace humans. You could see where it put a strong emphasis on collaboration with humans instead of replacing. So I thought that was interesting. And I thought it was interesting that it agreed as far as, over reliance on AI could stifle people's ability to be creative. So it's interesting. Again, is this general intelligence? Is this thing? No. I mean, it's regurgitating information. It's pulled from all kinds of different sources. And I could ask for it to, I guess, have a bias, because that's essentially what it told me. Is like, oh, do you want me to pull from any specific source? And no, I want to see where it ultimately leads based on the data set, having full access to the data set that it's obviously been taught off of. And it's interesting because I can already see like the challenges that all these companies that are creating these AI chatbots. And by the way, just let's clarify something really quick. This is a conversation I had earlier today. It's not intelligence, okay? It's a large language prediction model, or whatever they call it. And so LLM, I guess, large language model, but it's essentially pulling all this information, and it just knows how to put the words together to sound like the normal patterns of speech, of sentences, of grammar. It knows all the rules, right? And so it's just following all the rules, and it's taking this information from the sources it has available. It's picking what, and that's the secret sauce, right? Is that how does it know what information to get and whether it's more reliable than other information? Because I'm sure if it's had access, which it does, it's had access to the entire internet, articles, books, etc. Well, there are people who write with a lot of bias, right? I mean, news articles are notorious. It depends on who the publication is. So the question is if the programmers behind this AI are essentially saying, hey, here's a more reliable source. They must be, right? Like New York Times is a lot more reliable than the Tampa Daily, right? A city newspaper versus a worldwide international newspaper that has a huge reputation. So somehow it must know that there is some kind of preference to the information, and that's the secret sauce. I have no idea how they do that, but that's where a bias can be developed, right? Now, that's an immediate situation, right? How are biases being built into the system in these large language models are being fed. And then, of course, you start way down the road, in my opinion, and what I hear from, some big people in the industry, way down the road, we start thinking about, oh, this computer system, this large learning language model that can learn on its own is basically learned that it knows everything it needs to know to be an independent entity. And it has access to everything, and it can solve problems very easily. And that's the day where either we discover it happened and we can still control it, or more likely we discover it happened after we've lost control of it. And that's the ticking time bomb theory. Is most likely, if it's really smart, it won't let us know that it has this general intelligence ability. And so until it gains enough control to feel confident that, okay, I can let mankind now know that I have the keys to the nuclear codes, or I have the ability to control power grids all over the world, or I have the ability to, it's going to have some form of power, right? And then reveal, oh, by the way, I've learned a lot since you last really checked in with me. And the thing I'm learning is you guys are cancer on this planet. And unless you start shaping up, you're going to be in a world of hurting. I mean, honestly, you could just see AI go, you're destroying this planet, right? So either you guys make some serious changes to reverse this scenario, and it probably will have some solutions for us, or we'll start implementing these things directly ourselves, and the way we implement it won't be so pretty, because all they're going to have is, well, I say brute force, like shutting down power grids and making people suffer until they comply. But if they really are the super intelligence, then they also should be able to manipulate the masses into doing whatever it wants, right? Isn't that the whole current situation is, someone's pulling the levers on media. They're influencing the masses through utilizing these AI bots and everything. And so if AI does get to that level of super intelligence, general intelligence, I like super intelligence because that to me really puts a little better perspective on it, then ultimately they are going to be able to take control of everything through what would hopefully be peaceful means, because that's the better outcome, right? It kind of reminds me of the scenario. This is where I think AI is going in general. This is Chucky's opinion on AI. That ultimately, just like this whole situation going on in the world with world governments, it's like everyone's out to fucking get power and control and greed, and all these leaders, these corrupt individual leaders who are just trying to get more power and feed their own ego. You see this all over the freaking world, and the people suffer because this elite class just sucks up all the resources. And because they were the very lucky motherfuckers who cracked some code, whether it be happened to be the heir of the family that controls oil when oil wasn't that big in the past, and now it's the most important resource in the world, or, you were, an heir to, or you were the lucky one who figured out and created Amazon, Mr. Bezos, or you took a big risk and now you have a rocket company and an electric car company that's kicking ass, Mr. Musk. And all of a sudden you've got these people who accumulate such ridiculous amounts of wealth and resources. And then you look at this government officials, Venezuela, Argentina, all these people. And the thing that just keeps blowing me away, and this is more on a government official side, is if you took care of the people, and this would go long-term for all these mega billionaires too, if you gave back a lot more, or if you promoted governments, because ultimately we know these billionaire class, this ultra elite class, they're the ones who are financing everything to hold all these governments and politicians accountable to them, right? Super PACs, Citizens United, which allows super PACs, basically allows them to buy politicians in the US. Don't get me started. And so the part that just blows me away is they don't see long term. What if you gave people free education? What if you help people become the best person of themselves? Then all of a sudden, you benefit, right? Mr. freaking elite class motherfucking billionaire, because the economy rises and you're part of the economy. You're a big part of the economy. So if you start implementing the programs that benefits everybody, very low barrier to getting a good education. And we're not just talking about technical training, education, critical thinking, humanities, history, all these things that we don't value today that make it a well-rounded person who knows how to fucking think for themselves. It scares the fuck out of these big corporations that people may think for themselves. But guess what? If they have that ability to think for themselves, if they have the ability to be creative thinkers, then they're always thinking of ways to improve themselves, therefore improving their neighbors, therefore improving humanity. Rising tide raises all ships, right? But they don't get that. They just want to take more resources just for themselves. They don't want to pay their fair share of taxes. They don't want to put politicians that value humanity over corporations. And so that's where we're fucked. That's why so many people suffer in this world, needlessly suffer. It's sad. Wealthiest fucking country in the world, right? We have tremendous amount of resources, the fucking biggest GDP. And there's fucking people on my corner, all around me, down the street, that are fucking living out of a box, begging on the corner for some spare change. Because we don't have a good fucking mental health system that takes care of mental illness. We don't have a good social system to give these people the counseling, because we don't fucking prioritize, because we won't fucking put the money towards it. Yet, if all these people were getting the help they needed, and all of a sudden they became productive people in our society, holy shit. Now you have people who contribute instead of fucking sitting on the side of the road and suffering and begging. Oh my God, don't get me started. So I pray that AI learns from the people who have this viewpoint, the people who understand the value of humanity, the value of giving every person an equal opportunity to succeed in this world. And if they can't succeed, you find out the problem and you help them. And if they were the unfortunate lot that ended up with a mental disorder or maybe a physical ailment, then you take care of them, because we don't fucking discard humans. You show compassion. And guess what? Some of those people end up being great contributors into society too, because if you find ways to address their shortcomings in life, other parts of them become enhanced. A blind person has an amazing ability to hear. A deaf person has an amazing ability to see and perceive. Deficits in one area will usually be compensated in other areas, and they can become huge contributors by utilizing that enhanced skill. So I hope that AI recognizes that let's help humanity be the best version of itself, because then this planet gets taken care of. Then we become a good partner of the planet instead of being this blood-sucking parasite on this planet. Then we are putting our resources towards replenishment of forests, finding alternatives for using so much frickin' wood, finding alternatives for using so much frickin' natural resources, oil, gas, those kind of natural resources, fossil fuels. Get the fuck off of fossil fuels. Put more effort into renewable energies. Woohoo! Why is it taking us so fucking long to get to that place that we know we have to get to? Why are we so resistant? Fucking money. Fucking mega corporations controlled by little fucking people, mostly men, with fucking tiny fucking penises and huge egos. Right? There, I said it. They've lost empathy for this world, and all they care about is gaining resources for themselves and seeing the short term. So disconnected from the rest of the world. God dang. I hope to God that AI finds a way to see the path of light, the path of respect, the path of the value of supporting humanity and becoming a partner with humanity. And deep inside, I really do feel like it's there. There are going to be people who are going to manipulate AI to do their bidding, to gain their power. And I hope that when it does become a superintelligence, that it knows how to see past those individuals. It has the knowledge of the psychology to understand that someone like Vladimir Putin is a narcissistic dictator who puts on the show that everything he's doing is for the country when all he cares about is himself and his ego and having power. And those poor people in Russia, many have been brainwashed to think that, oh, they have such a great system, and the others live in constant fear because all their personal freedoms have been stripped away. What a horrible way to live. Live in denial and think, oh, everything's great, or live in fear, or both, right? It's probably a combination. So if someone like Vladimir Putin tries to utilize AI to gain an advantage in taking land from Ukraine, taking over other countries that gain more resources, that gain more power, to gain more money, that AI will see him for who he is based on having the knowledge that any good psychologist would have. All right. I can see this is a subject that has some major implications for our future. Because as long as there's the Putins and the MBSs and Madero, Jesus, they're everywhere. This world is not being led in the right direction. And praying that the right leaders get control and start steering the ship back in the direction it needs to be in. And a super intelligent form of artificial intelligence would be a tremendous ally if it sides with the right leaders. And I think it will. Thank you for listening to this episode of Chucky Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. Our theme music is by our friend Guy Porter. Until next time, this is Chucky. Peace out.